Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Stories That Inspire Us, the author series. You know, obviously, I love to read, and just to let everybody know, these are the hardcover books that I've received from all my amazing authors, but I also have a lot of PDF books on, on my desktop, which is why it looks like a mess right now. I probably have about 18 to 20, but in any event, obviously, I love to read, and the author series is another extension, of course. And I also love having the opportunity to chat with children's author, because who doesn't love a good children's story? Today, I'm so excited to welcome to the Stories That Inspire Us podcast, the author series, the children's author, Alex Pin. She is the author of the book, Hannah's Christmas Wish, and other children's books. And she is also a mom in the jungle. And we'll get into that in just a moment, of course, but she's also a parenting and emotional well-being coach. Wow, that was a lot. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you. Welcome to everyone. It's always interesting to hear, what you do, where you are, because sometimes we all get to that point that or we forget or we don't cherish that, it's just sometimes just like we are driven with everyday activities. And when someone says, oh, this and this, I say, wow, okay, really? Okay, thank you.
And you know what? That is so true, because I think we should cherish it, claim it.
Yes.
And really send that good vibe out in the world. And that's what stories is all about. So
yeah, I'm totally fascinated with stories. Really, it's just like that's what life is about. Life is a story. Okay, life is a book. Life is a story. Every day is a story.
You know what? That is so true. And I always say to everyone, the story, there's always a story behind the story. And
those are the best ones. That's where the wisdom lies.
Well, yeah, because, think of it this way. I mean, I've told this story probably 100 times by now, and I know that I probably shared it with you on our pre-podcast chat. I was on the George Washington Bridge in traffic when I came up with this podcast, Stories That Inspire Us, of course, inspired by my son. But it really was with the intent of sharing a platform where I could help others to share their stories, because there is validity in your stories. And I know that somebody perhaps listening, of course, on the Wisdom audio app, and by the way, thank you to all of my amazing listeners currently hopping on, whether you may be viewing this on Facebook, whether you listen to it on iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcasts, someone out there needs to hear your story. So that is where I think the validity of a story comes in. Because when I first, for instance, thought of my story, I thought, well, really, who's going to be interested in that?
Mm-hmm.
But it really has been the foundation. So back to your story, you have an incredible background in your foundation.
I do.
In your foundations, and by the way, I have a very specific question for you at some point. I'm not sure when I'm going to ask it, but your foundation started out when you were a child.
Everyone's foundation starts there, or maybe also some past lives, you never know. Mm-hmm. Life is much, much bigger. But yeah, my story and the stories then we create in our mind and we tell ourselves in every relationship, in every struggle, in every connection, is the story that we've experienced in one way in our childhood. And my story was that I was a really hyperactive, child. Like I wanted to save the world. I wanted to create a new world. And I saw world differently. I could feel world. I could feel people. But just everyone and anyone didn't know how to talk with me, especially my parents. They didn't know how to raise me. They didn't know how to discipline me. They knew their way because of fear, anger, judgment, punishment, it's just, and because the area where I live, I come from Europe, I live in Slovenia, and the area here in Slovenia, in this part, is just known by if you have a very naughty, hyperactive child, there's that saying, he or she is like a devil. It's just the saying, it's nothing. Well, if you tell this to a child, or whatever we are telling to our children on a daily basis when we struggle, or we think, or we just radiate because our children feel our energy, they feel our inner world, they start to create a story inside their mind. So that's how it was with me. Just for years and years, I was hearing like, you are like a devil. Plus, the expression on the face, we know how it was. Plus, the look in the eyes. Plus, the tone of the voice. Plus, the energy that you could feel. And this is everything what actually creates then the story of our life inside here. And we have to deal with that in our life. So it's just, I could then remember when I was 7, I heard someone. It was someone, and it said with a voice, he or she, I think it was a man, he said with a voice of despair, like, this is devil, that's the worst thing ever. And I can remember the click that I did in my mind, like, oh, that's me. Everyone is telling me that that's me. Plus, I was beaten a lot. I had to be on my knees a lot when I was punished. So it's just the whole structure of everything. And an experience of abundance and blah, blah, blah. But this story, what we are telling to our children and to ourselves also, they just became the inner voice, and I created them 2 parts, where much more, but there are 2 big parts in a constant conflict inside of me, because I was so afraid that that's true, that I'm the worst person ever lived, because of that click. Every child does the click. And then the other part was that I'm good. I went and I did such incredible projects, and behind that, as you said, there's a story behind. My story behind was just, could anyone just see me? I'm just struggling to be loved, to be seen. It's just, anyone?
Well,
Oh,
yeah, I can certainly see, and really at such age 7, at a very impressionable age, where you heard somebody, a man's voice, say, oh my God, she's the devil. And at an impressionable age like that, your mind, I think, is not fully capable of taking in all that information. But when you take it in, there's so much negativeness about hearing somebody call you the devil. Yet prior to that, you said you wanted to save the world.
Yeah, I had to first save mine. It's just because of that, I dealt with alcohol, drugs. I was losing myself in, a relationship and so on and so on. I really wanted to, do good things, but there was this conflict constantly. And yeah, I went to psychotherapy, but the best changing point for me, like self-discovery and all these parts, came together. This is not something, I'm talking here that this was like a revelation in 5 minutes. No, it took me years and years and years, and work with my mom inside of me, and just building the relationships, discovering, reflecting all the time. I was really obsessed with finding myself, like crazy obsessed. I just wanted, but when I became a mom, I holded that baby. I got this mission. I want to give this child like faith that he will believe in himself. And in first 2 years, we're like, okay. But then you had to set up the boundaries, tantrums came, and all big little feelings and everything. And I'll never forget that day. It was 3 days in a row that I hit my son in the morning because he didn't want to go to kindergarten. So I felt so powerless. You have to listen to me, like, it's just, I'm your parent. But it doesn't go like that. So the first day I hit it and I felt so bad. The second day, it was the same story, The third day, it's just like I could see I'm going to hit him again. This is the way how my parenting is going to be. It's just I started to feel that rage, to that self-hatred and everything. And I could almost see, like, from subconsciousness, that thought came from a memory, like, put him on his knees. And I was like,
Oh,
fuck. I just fell down. I think that I cried for an hour. I cried for an hour. I was like, I don't want to be a mom like that. I don't want to be a mom like that. It's just, how do I change that? How am I going to give my son, for me, it was my son, how am I going to give him something? Self-worth, self-love, self-compassion, self-understanding, setting up the boundaries from the inner power, not the egoistic part with attacking, no. I wanted to reach out something totally different, and I saw that I don't have that. So I have to build that. That's why parenting, that's why I'm so passionate about working with moms, with parents, about inner world. And so I started to create stories for my son, There are 2 stories about frogs that represent their inner world. So every one of us has an inner kingdom. Every kingdom has a king or a queen. That's your consciousness. And every king and a queen has a power. We all have the power. It's a power of decision. What kind of a king or a queen you would like to be? You choose your anger. Anger is not you. I don't teach my parents, my moms and the parents that I do, like, I'm angry. No, you are not your anger. I try to push them from a higher consciousness, is that, you see your anger appeared inside your inner world. Your consciousness that appeared, grief appeared, it's just your triggers appeared. This is something that came out of your inner energetical field, subconsciousness, whatever. What are you going to do with that? Heal, grow, learn out of that. And I think this is so important to teach our children about inner world and what kind of a person you would like to be. You are ruling your kingdom. You are creating your life. From which part? Egoistic part, behavioral part, mind part, or consciousness? And what really is the true inner power? How do you develop it? So yeah, it's just then I started to create fairy tale meditations, because children just function differently. And when we talk about stories, it's just we connect differently. You are allowed in your inner world to grow up with those stories, with the part where you are. You don't feel so judged, because our negative part, that was my devil. That was my best teacher ever, that part in me, and the experience that I had, how it functions, how intellectual it is, this part. So it's just teaching this. So this is the coaching actually that I do.
Wow. So you have come from a place, and in just a really short amount of time have shared with us really the backdrop of your story, where you were in your life, what you struggled with. And the first question that pops up for me is, finding yourself, so to speak, can be a really difficult thing to do. But when you connect with that in such a way that honors your journey, I think you really found yourself in a very mysterious yet magical kind of way, because you really could have accepted where you were in your life, where you were in your journey. You mentioned the drugs and the alcohol. You took charge of that.
It's just, I think that life always offers you the opportunity to learn. Everything is opportunity to learn, to grow, or to go into the same cycle. So it's just, for me, seeing myself I was 27 at that point, and I ended up in a safe house. I was in an abusive relationship, but I was totally depressed. I was dealing with, safe hatred, panic attacks, I just mentioned. But at that point, I was so depressed because I saw in what kind of relationship I am. And the pain of the alcohol drinking schnapps, vodka, the pain of the alcohol at that point was the only thing that was just a little bit covering over the pain that I had inside. And when I saw myself in the bathroom, like a young woman with a bottle of vodka, like I drank 2, 3, like cups at one time because it was so much pain in my soul. And when I saw myself, I said, this is where I will end up. No, I can't. It's just, but then you have to go on a journey. Then you step up on the road for going from A to B to C, and it's painful. You need your tribe. I could never do the whole journey if I didn't have a coach, if I didn't have a therapist. It's just, I could never do that. But I just wanted, it's just then later when I just became a mom, my very deep drive was to be a better person, be a better mom. It's just, but first, years ago, it was just, I just want to get out of that feeling, that pain inside. And it took me years and years of really disciplined inner work. This is not something you say, oh, it's just a magic wand, blah, blah. Yes, we are joking here. But this is work. This is inner work. If you do it right, that's also important. If you do it in a right way, then you have a big chance, and everyone can do it. Everyone has the opportunity. It's just, in the end, is a question: how deep are you going to be truthful and honest with yourself? How deep, without judgment? That's vulnerability. Then, how deep I want to really look in.
And I would say that you obviously dove in head first. Look at where
Thank you.
Are. You did. Look at where
and
you are.
I still do. I still do. It's, I've done one part, I've done parenting, I've built up a great relationship with my mom because I wanted. I'm building now a total different relationship with my brothers. I'm building a total different relationship with my partner. I have no idea how to build and what I know what I would like, but how to really build a good quality relationship, with a partner, I can only see and I have inside what my parents gave me. This is not something that I want, but that's something, that I can learn out of. So it's a constant journey. But yeah, that really breakthrough, it's not one awakening, there are many awakenings, and then it comes easier. And one day you see, it's just, you feel different, you see things different. But as I said, it's a constant work. And stories, children's stories, the same as Hannah's Christmas wish, that was a big part of me that helped me, because this story was like, it shocked me. It was a calling. My son was he was 4. I was a teacher. I was a primary school teacher at that point. I worked in school. It was a Christmas time, before Christmas, December, and I could hear every child, blah, 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 you know how it is. And also my son was the same. And one day, I heard the story about a girl in a wheelchair that came out of his kindergarten, about a girl on a wish, about a girl on a wheelchair who wished for Christmas that she would be able to walk. She wrote that to Santa, and Santa, well, parents came to kindergarten asking for help. They didn't know. They didn't know how to deal with it. They didn't know how to do. Chatting, blah, 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 gossip. This was just spread it around, and I heard this, and I was like, I cried for the whole afternoon because I could see this child so full of love, so full of grace, awakening us all about the things that really matter. And the only thing I could hear is just children, I want that, I want that. But we all, if we are really honest, we all are missing something when children are naming their wishes and blah, blah, blah. We miss something. We miss the connection. We miss that our children would say the things, the deep, that they are just, you cannot bought them. So I wrote a story. And this story was in my computer for the next 2-3 years, because for each book that I've published, there are more, but they're not in English. This one is, the others are not in English. I wanted to always contribute something to the society. Otherwise, I don't publish the book, especially children's one. And I was just waiting for the idea. And one day I saw a child on a wheelchair on a swing. And I was like swinging together with wheelchair. And I was like, that my fuck, it's not like, fuck. We don't have this in our playgrounds, children playgrounds. These children are excluded. They're not included. Why would they go to why would parents bring them to children's playground to connect with them, to include them in the society if there's nothing for them to play with? And I was like, I'm going to publish the book, the money, so that it's the first swing in Slovenia in the public playground. I wrote to our ex-president, I wrote to our ex-human rights ombudsman. At the end, after 10 months, we started to, the book was published. I included hundreds and hundreds of schools into the big art competition. They needed to, they had to read this book, this story to children. And then they asked them, what do you wish for? But that cannot be bought in stores. And I started to collect these wishes. This was like, I cried receiving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children, deep wishes like, I don't want my father to hit my mom. I want blind people to see. This was so good. I want that people who are deaf could hear birds singing. These small things that matter, that we are missing, that we don't give to each other. I was like, ah. So that's how this story with Hannah's Christmas wish goes. And I do hope that one day, I could maybe find an investor or someone that I could do a big global project with this book, because it's not about a girl in a wheelchair, even if there is. She is the main character. It's a story of really opening hearts, connecting. It's just, I sold thousands of books here in my country, and I received thousands of messages from moms. I cried reading this book. This is not like a happy book, but it's a deep book that really awakens a child. I received hundreds and hundreds of messages like from moms, when are you going to publish the next book? Our child is, still running around, and it's May and it's June and it's September with this book, and we have to read it again and again. It's because of the connection that happens between a child and a parent, because of the story that it's true behind. It's that principle, we listen to each other when we tell, your story on the bridge, when we open, when we share with each other our truth, our vulnerability. That's where we sit down in the circle and listen to each other. And this circle is now your podcast. This circle is now, it's just on a Facebook group. And I know that everyone can feel this. And, it's just, this is the area how we can awaken each other, help each other, and just be vulnerable and be present with kids. And it's just, just open, even if we cry with them. But the only part that I'm missing, and this is something that I'm teaching my parents, is they don't know how to use the story like that to build a deeper connection. So this is also a course that I'm preparing for this year. I'm creating an app, Untriggered Mom app, where all these my programs and courses and explanations about the books, and hopefully this podcast also I want to put that inside, so just people can go and listen and grow and just be brave, be who you are.
I love that. Be brave, be who you are, which has led you, which makes so much more sense to me now, of becoming a parenting and emotional well-being coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's that, it's that your story has come full circle to where you are today, being a parenting and emotional well-being coach, and
Yeah.
start the mom in the jungle community.
What's a jungle? You said that you were mentioning what's a jungle. It's your inner world. It's like a jungle sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it. And you have to know who you are in the jungle so that you find your tribe. And this is something we have to teach our children. Hannah's Christmas Wish is just one of the parts. And my app, Untriggered Mom is just one of the parts. And also the podcast that I'm preparing, Mom in the Jungle. These are just parts that, we go within, even if it's scary, to find who we are in the jungle, in life, in a relationship. We know how it is. This jungle reflects everywhere, in business, in the country, between countries, in
Sure.
our inner world, in parenting. Child has its inner world, and it's a mess sometimes. They have worries. It's jungle. You have to teach them about that.
Wow. So very powerful. What is one of the things about your community, your Facebook group, that you have perhaps seen evolve over time? Is there like a common thread among the moms?
Well, on the international level, in English, I'm just building the community. It's different a little bit here. I could say that the way how I express, the way how I explain things are very, very different, than the rest of them. Because I speak with really stories and metaphors, and children understand that right away. But parents sometimes and moms need a little bit more. And I think that it's just, I've realized that more than I open myself, really, really open myself and tell truthfully, they start to open, they start to open. And it's the same that I've realized that we all have the same story. They all have the same story. It's just maybe a little bit, the colors are a little bit different, but we all have the same story. So that's the one thing, that I've seen in the community here. And they need people who are brave to talk about their vulnerabilities, people who, is just share, even if that's a tear, who are not fake. It's just, I think that the one thing that I've noticed is that I don't speak from the books, even if I've read them a lot, or from the lectures, even if I've learned a lot. But I try to speak in a very simple language, and definitely from the experience, because I think that's the one thing that we all feel right away, and we can feel each other's inner world. You can feel when someone really has a story and it has grown. You can feel what kind of, it's just like a power, some kind of force. And I think that this is something that everyone is looking now, and that's that light. And yeah, this.
I feel too that the force behind the passion is how your story kept evolving, because you kept moving forward in such a way that these stories, from what you described, for instance, when you had the children write down their wishes, but they had to, of course, read the book. Think about that for a moment. The lives that were impacted by reading that book. That's astounding.
Yeah, I think that when we are parenting and when we want to parent things that really matter in life, like non-material, we as parents I call it like we are wearing a parenting coat. It feels like lecturing, teaching. It feels like a little bit of some kind of role, like heaviness. And then you are not yourself, and you can't parent that. even that's if that's compassion. But the stories like this, and the one thing that I've been really obsessed is also trying to find the story, the children books and stories who have this deep wisdom. Not every story has it. So I think that when we read the stories like this, and Hannah's Christmas Wish is hopefully, I'm really grateful that I was so brave to do that journey with that book. I think that these are the stories that help us. It's just that you connect, because the story goes like this, that it's just Hannah sees her legs and she's accepting them. It's just, and she's greeting them every morning like, good morning, legs. For some parents, they said this is gross. No, 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 no. Children function so differently. Don't judge, just be. And one day we all realized it the same as I did. We all realized that we are different, that something is different, or it's just something, or we are not unseen something. That's something that happened with Hannah. It's like the book is like a self-discovering journey. And Hannah sees that, she can't move her legs, and she just becomes there a little bit depressed. She changes, and her parents notice that. And it's just, we go and we say to our children, no, you are beautiful. I know you can do that. Just, I believe in you. But we feel that boundary. We feel that our children don't accept that. It's like a wall. Those are blockages. Those is negative thinking. That's ego. It's all inner wall. And we don't know how to climb that. We don't know how to overcome it, but we want to. So the stories like that help you with that. Or powerful movies, powerful movie or something. But we need to know how to talk with each other. So it's just the story is then with Hannah, you've read it. It's like blah blah blah. She writes to Santa, and children know right away at that time when you come to the Santa part, and Santa is now just dividing the letters. This one is for toys, this one is for books, the wish, and this one is for that and that. And there's one letter, and there are so many teachers and also moms who wrote to me at that point. There were so many children screaming like, "What is he going to do?" Because they knew I never say in the story what she wished for, but they know. And it's just, what is he going to do with that? And Santa doesn't fulfill the wishes like that. And he comes, and he visits them, Hannah, and he tells her that he cannot fulfill her wish. And he's sad. And I think that honesty, that vulnerability, that sadness opens parents, opens children. And because parents open and children can feel them and their presence, then you can connect. Then that hug is different. Then that, I really love you. What are you grateful for? And children, because of that energy that changes, say the things that just touch our souls. And this is something that we are missing, we are missing that, especially in Christmas.
That is so true. And I loved how you say the things that touch your soul, because especially when you can make that connection of a vulnerability of someone's story, especially with a child, for them to see the potential is beyond inspiring. Oh my gosh, this has been such an amazing conversation. I think as I have said often, I think we've only just scratched the surface. I just want to segue over a moment and welcome all of our amazing listeners currently on the Wisdom audio app. I see a lot of familiar names, so thank you so much for being here today. Alex, do you have time? Perhaps we can invite one of the listeners up on stage in case if they want to ask you a question or perhaps contribute to the conversation. Sound good?
Yes, of course.
Wonderful. So Wisdom, we have time for one guest to hop up on the stage. We would love for you to contribute to the conversation, or perhaps you have a direct question for Alex and her book series. Alex, as excuse me, as we are waiting for somebody to potentially come up on stage, where can our viewers and listeners connect with you further?
You can find me on social media. So it's just Instagram or Facebook is Untriggered Mom. If you type in Untriggered Mom or Alex Spin, you can find me there. My webpage is under construction, so we are changing it, but it's alexspin.info. And I'm setting up the app. We'll be placing it on, it would be easier. It's just Untriggered Mom .passion.eo, so it's just going to be an app where everything is just going to be, and a lot of free material that I'm recording now, that I really would like to give a lot of value to moms and parents out there, because I know how it is when you are lost a little bit and you just don't have anyone to talk to, or maybe it's someone just to understand you, so yeah, these are the main things, where you can find me.
Wonderful. And of course, I will make sure all of that is in the show notes. And excuse me, you mentioned that one of your children's book, obviously Hannah's Christmas Wish, is written in English. Is there a potential for you to other books that may come out that will be in English language as well?
Definitely, but before that, I'm planning to release this year in summer the series of fairy tale meditations. It's something the same, and this is something that I'm creating to really help children through stories to understand and empower them about positive thinking, about understanding the inner world, about how important the gratefulness is, but through the stories. It's a combination of a story, it's a combination of included the elements of visualization, meditation, breathing, mindfulness, it's just autogenic training. It's just a combination of things that parents can use and kindergartens and learn through that, because every fairy tale meditation has also set up like a guide what it is for and how to talk with children about that and when to use it, and some of them are created to help children overcome inner fears and how to face them. It's just how to compassionately open. It's just, I really dived in more like, that devil part gave me a lot of material. So this is one thing that I'm preparing this year, but these are going to be the recordings, okay? It's everything recorded, but the stories next year, it's going to come out, my book about this inner kingdom and how to teach children about that, and with 2 stories, that it's a book for parents, a parenting guiding book, with 2 stories and how to really parent differently, to really teach children about the inner self-worth awareness, to give them what it means, the responsibility of creating your life, what it means to know and how to use positively, okay, the power of decision and the things like that. So this is then coming next year, and then hopefully, other stories too, because I wrote the 2nd and 3rd part for Hannah's Christmas Wish, and it's, if I go into that, it's really like crazy, but because it's just something that you really need to go. It's a whole circle. But yeah, one day, it's just, I could do much more, with getting an investor and then a big team, and then I could just produce a little bit more material. But till that, when that happens, I'm going to be really happy and grateful. Maybe some of them is listening, they can contact me, and we can do a lot of good things. But till then, it's just, I'm doing my own steps as much as I can, because I'm also a mom, I'm also a partner, so it's just, it's not everything about just work.
Wow, Alex, let's put more on your plate, right? Wow, you're blowing me away here, but you know what? There is no doubt in my mind that you will reach that goal, and congratulations on all the different ventures that you have going on, especially with your app coming out that can provide so much value. I'm so excited for you. I am
Thank you.
so inspired by you.
Thank you. I was so happy, and grateful that I would be able to be on your podcast, because it's just inspiring stories. That's it. We really need to inspire people, because I know how it is when, and from the bridge how it is when you are in that darkness and the only thing you can just feel is pain. And someone says at that point, just be happy, think positive. I thought I could slap someone, and I just get out. But to really be, with a podcast like this, with the material, with books, with just coaching or posts, that you can be a hand for someone, to help them, maybe just give them a next hope for next hour. That it's just, I fucking know what it means to feel all that pain inside, and it's
I,
I had
it,
my bridges too. So it's just, we need to inspire people.
thank you
I think
so
we
much.
need.
Thank you so much for your kind words, and I feel many times when we go through the fog, we know logically we are going to get through it, but it's how we get through it and the journey along the way, the pathway, however you want to reframe it, you can get to that other side. I actually just said to one of my friends, Hope Rieger, who was on, become a very good friend of mine, who was on the podcast. And I said, I feel like I am finally just breaking the fog, like I'm getting out of the fog. And I just want to share with everyone too. That is why there's such passion, there is such purpose in your story.
Yes.
You may think that who is going to want to relate to my story. Well, one of the reasons why I shared all the books over here, and actually here's Hope's book, Hope to Grief, put it back over here. And of course, all the many books that I have on, and yet the people who have been on that don't have a book yet, but are writing their books, that have these stories. Stories was created to inspire that hope and to create that ripple effect, because these are the stories that inspire us. My name is Janice Polillo, your host. Thank you again so much, Alex. Truly, these are the stories that inspire us. And of course, I hope that you definitely consider coming back again. Please keep us posted on your journey, where you are with all your amazing projects coming up in your app, of course. Thank you. I continue to be inspired by my amazing guest, Alex Pym. Mama,
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Mama in the jungle, and she's killing it. I hope that you will all consider coming back soon. And remember, again, if you have a story to share, why don't you go to the Stories That Inspire Us website and send me in a guest registration, and let's have that chat, because somebody needs to hear it. Thank you so much, everyone, and we shall see you again very soon. Bye for now.